all, a great yashikach to Rabin for sponsoring the entire year, Mir Hashem, a tremendous chus, mamish. Leilui Nishmas, Elchanan Ephraim Ben Avraham. Should be a tremendous chus for the neshama, for the family, really a big yasher koach. Today's specific shir is being sponsored Leilui Nishmas Chaya Rivka Bat Tzvi Hirsch on her second yahrzeit by Ilana Rosenbaum, and also a yasher koach for that as well. It should be Meilut Yosher for their entire families. Okay, my friends, we are not going to be talking about Asar B'Tevet, even though we'll just make one line, a very famous idea of the Chasam Sofer, that on Asar B'Tevet, the Rebbeinu Shalom decides today, will the Beit HaMikdash be rebuilt this year or not? The decision is being made today. And if you think, well, who am I to daven for the Geula? Then you don't know yourself. Look again in the mirror and see the inherent power that each and every one of our tefillos are. So throughout the day, that, wow, what would it be like? So this should be it. And that yearning is what we yearn for. Okay, having said that, my friends, let's begin. Let's learn a fantastic insight into the Parsha. Well, every week is fantastic, but I'm biased. So here we go, source number one. We know that toward the end of Yaakov Avinu's life, he's sick, and Yosef HaTzadik brings his two sons to be benched by his father. And they come close to him, they hug him, they kiss him, and we're back now in source one. Yosef then removed them from his knees, and he prostrated himself with his face toward the ground. You have to understand why he did that. Yosef took the two of them, Ephraim with his right hand to Israel's left, and Manasseh with his left to Israel's right, and he drew close to him. But Israel extended his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, though he was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head. He maneuvered his hand, for Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Yosef, and he said, Hamalach HaGoel. When Yosef saw this, he said, no, Abba, you have it wrong. Right? He couldn't see. I put Ephraim's here and Manasseh's. You have to, don't, switch your hands back. And he said, no, Yadati b'ni Yadati. The younger brothers shall become greater. And then he gave them the blessing of Yisimcha Elokim, Ke'Ephraimu, Ke'Manasseh, which is a bracha people give their sons on Friday night. So, my friends, there are a number of questions to ask. And we'll divide the shir into two. The second part of the shir will be on the question that's brought in source 3. And this is the obvious question. He discusses how he protested, you have him on the wrong side, and this begs an obvious question. If Yaakov wanted to place his right hand on Ephraim, why do you have to execute this awkward maneuver, crossing one hand over the other? Do us all a favor. Say to Yosef, could you do me a favor, please, and could you just what? Switch the boys. It's harder for an elderly person, he's over 147 years old, right, to switch the hands. I don't know how to do that with a mic in the hand, so I'm not so geschick. To switch the hands than to what? Just move the boys, and then you put your hand here and hand there. Why didn't he switch the brothers? And now all of you have the obvious answer in your head, but that's only one, and we have a lot more. Otherwise, we won't be here for the full hour. So you have to bear with me. A lot of exciting things. The second question we have, which is in source number 4, which is above 5 under 2, that's how you know where it is Birkas Mordechai. Kol Parsha Shabrachos Birkas Ephraim and Manasseh Aluma Vistuma. It's all, concealed, wondrous. Mama Kom Yesh. Why do we have L'chora Lakadish Psukim Shleimim Amitarim Tchunot Yadav Shal Yaakov Avinu? Do I need to spend so many psukim where every pasuk is so what? Precious, and every word is so precious. Do I need to spend so many psukim talking about what? The right hand and left hand, and put the right hand here and the left hand here, and he situated him this way. Like, why are we spending so much energy on the psukim, on the placement of where the kids are? And why is there so much emphasis on the aspect of hands? Like over and over again, these hands play such a crucial role. What is the significance? And dovetailing this question in 5, as yesh la'ir machpat le'eze yad hiniach el Ephraim u'Menashe. Halo ikari bracha. Does it really make a difference if the right hand's on the right side or the left on the left side? It's the same bracha. It's like, why are we even giving so much energy, and so much, whatever word you want to use, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, to these hands, right? Are the hands giving the bracha? No, your mouth is giving the bracha, your mind is giving the bracha. What's so, okay. So that's the questions I want to talk about. We'll begin with the power of the hand, the power of bracha. That'll be the first part of the shir, and then the second part of the shir will be this: why didn't they switch places? So far, so good? Okay, that was good. Now, so the Kovetz Sichos for Vachvagel, continuing at 5, says, Habeirhi, habracha chala al yidei hitkashrut hamevarech v'amitbarech. The bracha really takes effect when you have this connection between the one giving the bracha and the one receiving this. Vayidei netinad yado alav notzer kesher b'neihem. And it's through the physical touch connection that this becomes created. And he says there is a greater strength, and I apologize to the lefties here, there's a greater strength in the right hand than in the left hand. And the doctor here will tell you why, and I'm sure she has. You have?
Two main reasons.
Say, I knew it.
One is...
I can always put it on the spot.
One is a genetic tendency. So it's really hard to trace them, because in the old days, wherever your old country was, they switched your hands.
Yeah, right.
But typically, there's a genetic tendency to left-handedness. The other thing is, if somebody is really an isolated lefty, we postulate that there was maybe some neonatal brain damage, like lack of oxygen to one side. So instead of the right side being dominant, the left side,
Wow.
the earliest of days, it takes over. So if
Did you ever know that?
lefty, you need to sort of think about that.
If you're a lefty, you need to think about some neonatal damage in the brain. Unless there's a genetic tendency. Thank you. Are you lefty?
No, but my son is and my ex-husband is. So.
Oh, okay. So, well, that says it all. Yeah. Yes, please.
Kinds of lefties.
Oh.
Those whose left-handedness crowds out those whose speech center is on the other side and crowds out the center of visual motor coordination. So lefties like that are terrible athletes.
Interesting.
They don't get
They
the
can't
sense
see.
of object in space. The other lefties have their speech center on the same side as the righties, and so their visual motor center is intact.
Okay, if you ever want to know about lefties or righties, you can go see.
I found out just now that I'm brain damaged.
I don't think you're brain damaged at all, Robinson. I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, I'm moving along here because we have a lot to do today, so I don't want to get too lost. The Das Torah, the source under 5, says the following. He says, Ki lo kefi, second paragraph, Shiragil etzleinu shochim etzel ish tzadik, levakesh mimenu bracha, v'choshev ka'ish tzadik v'aday yesh lo kusa b'leya brachot. What is bracha all about? So sometimes we have this, and it's an incorrect view, that brachos is, a tzaddik has a box of brachos. And you go to the tzaddik, you say, well, I need a shidduch. No problem. Well, let me see. Shidduch, here you go. Children, oh, here you go. Oh, you need parnasa? No problem. Refuah? That's not what's going on here. He says, gam lebrachot, in the bracket, yesh mahalach v'seder. Brachos aren't arbitrary. There's a system. Rak zeh hamuchan v'amut'am lezot habracha. Only one who is worthy of receiving the bracha. Rak elaf habracha tagia. There's not an automatic you can give out brachos. There has to be a relationship between the giver and the receiver. Aval b'shum ofen lo yisigenu zeh sheino ra'ui la, v'lo tachol zeh sheino mut'am la. If the person is not appropriate, they're not going to get the bracha. The Haris Derech developing this says in source number 8, in the bracket, he says, Aleinu, in the bold bracket, Aleinu ladat shebracha Te'una kli, ubeli kli ein zochim lebracha. A bracha needs a kli. A kli is a vessel, a receptacle to receive. And without that, you're unable to receive. And therefore, Yaakov Avinu is saying, when I look at both of the children, I see that Ephraim and those who will come from Ephraim, he's like the composite of those who will come from him, have a greater kli kibul. Yoshua is going to come from him. He's going to be far greater than a shofet from Menashe Gidon. And therefore, since his ability to receive, he has a greater spiritual propensity, therefore I can put my right hand on him because he will be able to receive the intensity of the bracha greater than the other child, albeit Menashe is the Bechor. So this is an important idea here. The idea is brachos aren't automatic, and the idea is that when one comes to ask for a bracha, the question we have to ask ourselves is, what am I doing? How am I working on myself to be able to receive this bracha? And I'm going to share a story that Chana sent me, which I appreciate. It was a great story, which I think is related. And if it's not related, it's a great story. And perhaps you know it, but it's worth repeating. Of a blizzard in 1956, New Haven, Connecticut. So some of you may remember this blizzard. I wasn't on planet Earth yet in this form. Who knows what Gilgal I was. And there was a woman who had waited a while for a child who was making a bris that day. And she had set up and prepared, and she knew a minion was going to come, but she wanted her friends to be there. This was the day that she was waiting for. So the time comes for the bris, no one's there. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we could all appreciate this. And she walks outside, there's 25 inches of snow outside. I'm like, who's showing up in this weather? And she looks outside hoping. And then she sees, trudging down the block, is one friend who walked over a mile. I can't believe you came. How could I miss this day? And then a few minutes later, a woman who was just post-surgery, she comes trudging. I can't believe you came. How could I miss this day? And then finally a third woman comes who trudged 2 miles. You trudged trudging in 25 inches. You remember this, yeah? I can't believe you came. How could I what? How could I miss this? And those 3 friends made the day, made the simcha. 9 months later, on the same day, all 3 had a bris for their sons. But that's not the end of the story. Lady number 1 had all girls and was chalishing for a boy. Lady number 2 had secondary infertility and didn't have kids for around 8 years. And lady number 3 had no children for 10 years. To be able to receive bracha from above, are you ready to walk in the snow? And that's a metaphor. What are we doing? And so often in life, we just think, you press a button, I go to the tzaddik, Where are you? And the core is, where's your Mesiras Nefesh? And that's what it means to be Makalo B'la Bracha. As well, as Rabbi Miller points out from the Divrei Shlomo in source 10, that the person blessed must himself firmly believe in the blessing. And that's why you see that Yaakov Avinu adds a second bracha. He says, Hamalach HaGoel. Then Yosef HaTzadik says, no, Abba, you got it wrong. And then he gives another bracha of Yisimcha Elokim K'Ephraim and K'Menashe. Why does he give a second bracha? Because the first bracha may be what? May have been affected, I'll use that word, because you don't believe I was giving it to the right people. So therefore now, knowing who I'm giving it to, you have to what? Give another bracha. Let's develop this idea a little bit further about the power of bracha. In particular, in terms of parents to children. Source number 11, the Rav Friedlander, we'll be moving here a little bit because we have a lot to do. Nimsa'im kain, it's under 10. That's convenient. And there are 2 10s. That's even better. Nimsa'im kain. Who's noticing? Ki habracha eina chalukat brachot, eli bechina shel bakasha l'Hashem yisbarach, she'itein et kol hasiyua. When you give a bracha, it's very fascinating. Again, a bracha isn't a magical formula. It's really asking Hashem to give the siyata d'shmaya, the help that a person should be able to be successful in. And that's why we have to put our what? Our best foot forward. In terms of the brachas too, the children, you really see this. It says that Yaakov Avinu benched all the children. Really? Ruvain? Pachas kamayim al totar? You're unstable like water? That's a bracha. Shimon v'Levi, arur pam kiyaz, I curse your anger, that's a bracha. And the answer is yes. To know your strengths and weaknesses is the greatest bracha. And you almost wonder whether it's when a parent benches their child on Erev Yom Kippur, Lel Kol Nidre, or even regular parents, grandparents, to add, what are the strengths of the child? What are the kochos hanefesh? That's part of the bracha, to give them insight. Because we know, as parents and grandparents, we are far wiser than they will ever be, even when they become parents and grandparents. Yeah, I was kidding. Yeah, you knew that. But we have insight as being what? As being an outsider who's raised them, who sees what's going on. That's the biggest bracha you can give them, is that level of insight. Now, in order to really give a bracha to a child, or anybody in 12, Omnam, Kadesha, Yotzer, Hemshechiyut, Ben Av Leben, here we're talking about a parent to a child, Sarich Sheyeh Gam Matzav Shel Dveikut Ben Av Leben. There has to be some type of connection. Ad kama sha'av margish yoter karov leben v'kesher yoter chazak, b'ota midah chala alav otzmat hashpa'at habracha biyoter. To the extent that a parent feels emotionally, physically, give me a better word? Connected is the word I'm looking for. To that extent, the bracha has a greater power. And likewise, to the extent that the child and recipient feels connected to the one giving the bracha. I heard said once that when we say in Sim Shalom, Barchenu Avinu Kulanu Ke'achad Be'or Panecha, where we ask Hashem to bench us, put your head down and feel as if what? The Rebbeinu Shalom is about to bench me. It's beautiful, isn't it? Okay, you can go now. You guys made an idea. I was kidding with you. Yeah, okay, great. Amazing more to come. You have no idea. Hanishika v'chibuk zelo haya bitui legilui ava v'chiba shel sabel nechdav. It's not just a relationship between a grandparent and a grandchild. It's kulo avodas Hashem. It's all about avodas Hashem. Kedei shashpa'at says this forno habracha tachul aleihem. Sarich lekach hakdama shel dveikut ben Yaakov lenechdav. And that's why he hugs them and he kisses them. And then he goes on and he says, and this is when you have that connection, continuing at 13, you understand that when he puts his right hand on the bechor, on the elder's, on the younger's head, thank you, it's not just putting a hand like I'm putting on these books. It's putting what? His love, his connection, I'm going to use the word, I'm sorry, this is my LA days, his energy on the child. And that energy, that mindset is what creates the reality. Let's move to the next page. Now, when we understand this, that it's not just the right hand versus the left hand, it is the energy, the otzmat habracha in the 14, the power of the bracha, which is found in the right hand more than the left hand, even though it's the same bracha. We can now, yes, Robinson.
I just want to clarify something. Are you saying that give a bracha, we have to tailor make it to the person who's receiving it.
Well, it's more powerful when you tailor make it, because again, a bracha.
Koiches and the chisronos.
Well, you would have to do the chisronos in a way that's going to build the person, not destroy them. But not embarrass them. Yeah, obviously.
No, never.
Yeah.
It's also interesting, as a lefty, I think about this.
You're a lefty.
I'm a lefty, yes.
Oh, now you tell us. Rebbitzin, do you feel better? You're in good hands.
It's interesting. This is not what I was going to say, but like I think lefties represent like something like 10% of the population. They were 40% of my medical school class. But that's
Wow.
it's
10% of the population, 40% of her medical school class. Very fascinating.
But it's interesting to think about what brachot we change the hands for and what we don't. Like netilat, lulav is.
Good, very good.
And some of them not.
Good.
And I haven't found a common.
Theme. And then when do you change your hands? I'm going to talk about this right now. So you segued me perfect. Thank you. Into where I'm going. And that is when we understand that the hands are not just, appendages in our body. Rather, they create energy and reality. So now I can appreciate in 15 the Targum on Sikel et Yadav, which literally means he switched his hand. The Targum says, Achakmun Yadohu. He, Sikel from the word Seicha. With Chochmah, with wisdom, he maneuvered his hands. What is this saying? So the Mefarshim point out, we'll begin with Rav Wolbe and Shirei Chumash, that hands have a wisdom of their own and have an energy of their own. He calls it the Avodas Ha'avarim. And it really would be, for us, Lamed et Avarenu lasot rak mashmutal alehem b'tivam. The goal would be that our limbs would know to do the will of Hashem on their own. That the hands have a mindset of their own. This is like David HaMelech, where he says, Vashiva raglaya lodosecha. Wherever I went, guess what happened? I landed in the Beis Medrash. I thought I was going here or there. My feet took me to the Beis Medrash. This is about Avraham Avinu by the Akedah. Vatishlach et yado. He extended his hand with a knife in his hand. And why did he have to extend his hand? Because his hand said, this is not where you need to be. So he had to physically move his hand almost against what? His hand. You have to hand it to him. Yes.
The first bracha that we make in the morning is Al Netilat Yadayim.
Yes. The first bracha we make in the morning is Al Netilat Yadayim, 100%. 100%. And it happens to be, this is what I'm teaching today based on a Kabbalistic understanding in an hour from now. So you're 100% correct. Yeah. It's Netilat Yadayim. It's elevating our hands to realize they are just literally tools in the hands of the Rebbeinu Shalom. You're 100% right. There's a lot there. Yeah. Okay. Now, that's why we are very flippant with our hands. Our hands fly everywhere. Our feet fly everywhere. A tzaddik is somebody who has total control over every limb of his body. Yaakov Avinu could not see his children. He intuited, or rather his hands intuited, this hand needs to go here, and this hand needs to go there. For us, 18 Berkas Mordechai, Melamdim otanu ki kol tnucha shel ever kol shehu, asur shetiyeh bilti mechushevet. Every movement of our hands has to be thought through. And just to pause a minute, and then we'll get back to what you were just saying. There's a piece Rav Wolbe has in Shirei Chumash where he speaks about how he once was by his Rebbe Yerucham, for a Chumash shir. And there was an alarm clock on the table that wasn't working. So he was picking it up and playing with it and seeing why it wasn't working. And Rabbi Yerucham said to him, it doesn't work. And he kept on holding it. Like, he also realized it didn't work. And Rabbi Yerucham said, it doesn't work. And then he understood what Rabbi Yerucham was saying. Why are you holding it? It's not yours. Why are you touching something that doesn't belong to you? It doesn't work. Keep it on the table. Now, I want to tell you a PS to this story. I once taught this in Michlelet Shana Bet many summers ago, and a girl told me, she says, you have no idea how true this is about watching your hands. This is a story a girl told me, this 17, 18-year-old, 16, 17-year-old. She says, I was once in a shoe store, and I was paying, and there were a cute pair of little red shoes on the counter. And while the person was ringing up the bill, I was playing with the shoes because they were a cute pair of little red shoes. I finished paying. I walked out, and what was I holding in my hand? The little red shoes. We don't even realize how we're not in control of our hands. It's not yours. Don't touch it. Go, but moving.
It just struck me as such an interesting parallel that Yitzchak was blind.
Yes.
He couldn't see. He said, "Hakol kol Yaakov ha'yedei Esav."
Yes.
And Yaakov couldn't see, but he had the chachmata evarim. He knew.
Right. And at the same time, Yitzchak asked to hug Yaakov too. So you also have that dimension there. Yeah, Miriam.
My father was a Holocaust survivor with the number 184843. My sister refused for the number to be on the kever of Shalom. I said, Shemayim, I ended up the numbers, it comes up to the number 28. The number 28 in Hebrew is Koach. Yad v'yad.
That's it, Yad v'yad.
Connection to us.
Yes, beautiful. I love it. Yad b'yad. It's koach b'koach. Now, what does this mean for us? It does mean for us that when we say a bracha, let's try in our own lives to have some level of control over our hands. You're saying a bracha, well, today it's not a good example being a tinius, but you're saying a bracha on food, you hold it in your dominant hand. That awareness that you hold it in your dominant hand is beginning to train yourself that my hands make a difference, and I can pick up that cup of coffee in my right hand, hold it, and say the bracha. That's a small way of working on that my hands aren't just all over the place. I can direct my hands to the point that it will become natural for me that when I say a bracha, I won't even think about it, and I will naturally take it in my dominant hand to say the bracha. Good. Now, I got to move here a little bit. Did I say that? I want to add one more nakuda to right and left, and then I want to get into why didn't he switch the places. Right and left, we've been speaking about, is the stronger hand, it's the more dominant, it's the more forceful part of the bracha. There's another part of right and left, and that's a new sefer for us, because it's a new sefer for me. From the worlds of the Meshech Chochmah, it's very recent, Rabbi Bernstein. We're going to do another piece from Rabbi Bernstein today. You'll see the print looks exactly the same. And I'm just going to summarize 21 through 24, what Rabbi Bernstein says here, and then we're going to go back inside. And that is, the right side represents l'mala min hateva, above the natural order, and the left side is the teva. And that explains the pasuk, Yipo mitzidcha, they will fall from your side, 1,000, urvava miminecha, and urvava, myriads, on your right side. So when it says on your side, it doesn't say your left side, but obviously if the end of the pasuk is the right, so this is the left, because mitzidcha means the side that's right near you. That's the level of teva, the level of nature. Urviva miminecha, the right side is l'mala min hateva, which helps us explain the difference between the two judges or two leaders that came out. From Manasseh was Gidon, who was a tremendous fighter. However, he fought in the realm of teva, the realm of nature. The hand belonged on the left hand for him. Yoshua, on the other hand, is Shemesh b'kivon dom, v'yarech be'emek ayalon. It's above the natural order. He puts nature on hold. And therefore, Yoshua needed to have the right hand on him because he's not just giving him a bracha, he's infusing within him abilities with either within the natural order, hence the left side, or above the natural order, hence the right side. Okay, so that ends idea number 1 for today. Just to summarize, a bracha is not just about the one giving the bracha, it's very much about the one receiving the bracha. What are you doing to make yourself a kli to receive this bracha? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. In giving a bracha, the greatest aspect of a bracha is giving the person a davening that they should have siyata d'shmaya to be able to be successful in their endeavors. And something to think about, whether it's once a year or Rosh Chodesh time on Friday night when you give bench your children, grandchildren, whatever it may be, to think beforehand. What little piece can I give them with? That the Baruch Shalom should continue to help you with. You know, like I have one daughter whose strength is she thinks outside the box. And anytime I have a situation where I'm just stuck because there's no way out, I call her up and I say, here's the situation, help me with a solution. You know how some people, she's a righty, how some can think outside the box. And then when you are able to bring that out, so then it builds them. Am I making any sense? And it gives them that koach, that wow, I'm in a difficult situation, you know what? Ima believes in me that I can be able to see. That makes sense, yeah? Okay. Look at me. Leave my kids out of this. Okay, that's a good idea. They tell me that all the time. They always say to me, we want to hear the Shira Mima. What do you say about it? Nothing. I'm really nothing, except what I do. Okay. Right side, left side. Right is ma'al teva, left is teva. You have a question?
I have a question, which is also like in the Beis HaMikdash, how you can't pour a certain way. It's usually the left hand and in a specific way, right? Can't pour.
To pour,
Water, what they did in the Beis HaMikdash.
yeah.
Like, I've been told that if I pour a certain way, don't pour that way.
Don't pour it that way because that's the way they pour it in the Beis HaMikdash? Fascinating.
That they did not allow in the Beis HaMikdash.
They didn't allow it. Fascinating. I'm not aware of this, but I love it. I love it.
I'll get this work.
Okay, great, please. Yeah.
I have a problem that Yosef rebuked his father.
Yeah, good. The first you asked that question. They do. I'm not dealing with it, but they asked the question. And again, they speak about how he did it in a way that was trying to make right what his child deserved. He's standing up for the what? For the Bechor. But the first you ask your question. The question was, how could Yosef HaTzadik tell his father what to do? And the question stands. It's a great question. It's a great question. You have your work cut out for you. It's good. It doesn't bother me. Okay, my friends, here we go. Ready? This is great. This is amazing. But everything else. Why doesn't he just say what? Yosef, do you mind just switching the boys so that I can put my right hand here and my left hand here? So the classic answer, which you all were thinking, let's do inside. And that is source 26. Looks like 126 here. Chizkuni says that Yaakov's maneuver was deliberate. The word sikel in this verse, he explains, shares a root with the word seicha, wisdom. Torah's teaching that Yaakov acted wisely in crossing his arms while blessing Menashe and Ephraim. What wisdom was inherent in this move? 26, yeah?
It's right side versus left side and right hand versus left hand.
I'm going to get to that, but I'm not there yet. There are times in life where we must do something that by very definition will hurt someone. Sometimes it means something really life-altering, laying off an employee due to downsizing measures. Other times it can be just something that will make someone feel bad, such as when we feel that we must admonish an adult child or exercise tough love toward him or her. Yaakov's in this sort of situation, says Chizkuni. He knew that he had to place his left hand on Menashe's head Wicked people would emerge from him, place his right hand on Ephraim's head, progenitor of the great Yoshua ben Nun. And such situations occur frequently in our lives. The common application is the Erev Shidduchim. A boy and girl meet, and one of the two fields on a shidduch. How do we go about saying no? Do we avoid the shidduch's call, shadchan's calls for a few days, dragging it out because we don't feel like facing up to an unpleasant conversation? Or do we perceive the potential pain of the other party and having been strung along for a few days only to be brought down to the ground and make the call immediately? Yaakov's wisdom that when he had to do something that would hurt someone, he found a way to do so while preserving the person's dignity rather than adding insult to injury. It was far less embarrassing for Menashe to have Yaakov cross his hands than have to switch places with Ephraim. I will make mention, almost parenthetically, there are Mefarshim who point out that the heads of the children were bowed down. They didn't even know that he had switched hands until Yosef said something. Only then did Yaakov give the bracha of Yosim Chalokim K'Ephraim and K'Menashe. He didn't give it before so as not to embarrass the children. Once they knew it was switched over, only then did he give that bracha. So you see that level of sensitivity. Yeah.
I was listening to a Shira in the middle of the night with Reverend Rosenblum on Kolchai, and he said that a husband comes home and his wife did not cover the challah. There's a gadol that's coming
Right.
to supper, and he went crazy on her. And the Rav said to him, "Why do we cover the challah
Right.
on Shabbos?" So
Right.
it's not too bad.
Right. So again, when a husband critiques his wife for not covering the challah publicly, when the whole reason we do it is not to embarrass the challah, we have to have our sensitivities in order. So that is clearly idea number uno, not to embarrass, to mitigate the pain. I want to add a few other answers. The second one is in source number 28. It's above 30. Yeah? This is Tam V'das. Sometimes we have an idea, usually we have an idea that you can walk home with and share with somebody. This, in my mind, is such an idea. And this is what the Tam V'das, quoting Rav Chaim Volozhin. Let's take a look in the asterisks. He says, Sheteva ha'adam, the nature of a person is lahaktim ma'alat chaveiro. The nature of a person is to downplay the good qualities of somebody else. You really think they're that generous and they're that? And we do that for many reasons. A lot of it's our own insecurity, whatever it is. However, but when you speak about their what? Their deficiencies, good word. As magdilu magzim b'dvarim yoter masher haim be'emet. Shebazeh ro'im oto tzadik lumat chaveiro. You speak a lot about their deficiencies because in that way you look what? You look better. Okay, so far so good. That's human nature, and this is a good word for a Sarbatevi. Now what happened? Says Rav Chaim Volozhin the following. Rachel, I'm going to use you as an example, you don't mind. I needed to use a chair for this, but it's easier if we use a person. My right hand is to Rachel's left hand. My left hand is to Rachel's right hand. And that's the mirror of what we're speaking about. My right hand, which are my strengths, what does she, who is across from me, do? She takes my right hand and focuses on the left, mitigating. My left hand, which are my weaknesses, it's to her right. What does she do? Adds. Smiles. I once in a while add something. I think this gives a deeper understanding. Don't tell me this is what we do. I know, but I want us to understand. When a person gives a shalom aleichem to somebody, what do? They shake with the right hand. The right meets the right. That's how you have to look at your friend. This dovetails from last week. Remember Yosef Tzadik who saw the positive things in people? This is the Nakuda. When you meet somebody, give a shalom aleichem, whether it's physically shaking their hand or metaphorically. Be able to connect. I'm going to build up your positive quality traits. Now, we now understand that this was a message that Yaakov Avinu was trying to teach his children. He dafka took his right hand and put it on the other side so that right would meet right and left would meet left to teach us this lesson. Aside from the fact that Ephraim needed that bracha, there's another lesson being shown here, and that's the lesson of how we have to look at other people and see their what? Their goodness, their positive traits. And my friends, I think this is the Asar B'Tevei message for us. Today, we've seen this, it's like the theme today. Go around building people up. Talk about their strengths. Emphasize the good parts. Give brachas to people all day. And part of those brachas is just what? Focusing in on what you appreciate about the person. You have a question? No? Okay. Now.
Just a comment. I think that also, to me, it means complimenting.
100% means complimenting.
You and I compliment each other. My strength.
Yes. Oh, my strength is your weakness, and we work together. But as long as we look at it as a complimenting and not as a critiquing, it works. Comment?
The Beis Hamikdash was destroyed for Sinas Chinam,
Right.
and then Chinam means grace, positive. And I just recently read Rabbi Meir and Pirkei Avos share the concept of looking at someone's humility, their grace, their chaim, and looking at the positive side as opposed to their negative side. And that's what was missing.
Right. Very good. What was missing, the Beis Hamikdash, the Sinas Chinam, was being able to see the chaim in another person. And when you're able to see the chaim, then you're able to bring this level of connection and love, 100%. Okay, so the first idea, why did he switch places? Sensitivity. Second idea, he's teaching us right has to meet right and left has to meet left.
How does what we're saying fit into the Chizkuni? Because it said he had to place his left hand on Menashe's head because wicked people were going to emerge from him. It's like, it's inevitable. I don't get how the power of the bracha of the left hand was going to affect the wickedness that was going to come out of Menashe.
It's a good question. How is the left hand going to affect the wickedness that come out of Manasseh? The answer is, even wickedness can be what? Different gradations. And as much as everyone has free choice, as much as you can infuse bracha and goodness, that's going to mitigate the effect of how it's going to go. That's what I would offer now. Now, let's take a look at Rabbi Bernstein's dimensions of Chumash. This is gewaltig. Verse 29. He brings here, I'm going to say it's the Al-Shech HaKadosh, and I hope I'm right, the following. It is the Al-Shech HaKadosh. Here's the background before we go inside. He says the following. There's a dynamic that's going on here between Yaakov Avinu and Yosef and Tzadik in these psukim that we have to understand. And that is Yosef and Tzadik. Even though Yaakov Avinu said, your two children will be like Reuven and Shimon, that's all very nice. He wanted his father to give the brachas directly to them. And when he brings the children, Yaakov Avinu says, Mi Ela, who are these? And he says, these are the children Hashem blessed me with. When he says, who are these? It's because he sees that there are going to be wicked people. What he's really saying is, I'm not sure these children are worthy of having a what? A bracha directly from me. And that's what Yosef HaTzadik wanted more than anything, for his father to bench them directly. Hence, when he brings them close and Yaakov Avinu hugs and kisses them, Yosef HaTzadik really believed that was going to be the turning point, that now Yaakov Avinu was going to what? Bless them directly. Hence, the end of 30. Yosef, on the other hand, saw the direct contact with his sons and Yaakov's ensuing words as an indication that he reconsidered and is prepared to bless them directly. And that's why it says Yosef released his sons and he bowed down to the ground. Well, why is he bowing down to the ground now? You bow down to the ground when you hear good tidings. In Yosef Atzadik's mind, he's bowing to the ground. Thank you. Now my father's going to bless them what? Directly. Now, if you take a look back in the Psukim, this is Mamish in the Psukim. Take a look in verse 15. I'm back in source 1. Right, he puts him on the right, him on the left. And look at verse 15, Pasuk Tevav. He blessed. Anyone with me here? He blessed Yosef, and he said, "Oh God, before my forefathers Yitzchak war, may the angel redeem me from all the evil, bless the lads." Who does he bless? Yosef. He blesses the children through Yosef. Now watch this. Yosef really believes that what? It's going to be direct. Yaakov Avinu says, no way, I'm blessing him through Yosef. Now I understand. I flipped the page. Now I understand the dynamics here. When it comes to the positioning of Yosef's sons, 31, to receive the blessing, two issues need to be considered. Which son would receive the right side? With reference to whom should the right and left side be determined? Regarding the latter question, if the blessing will be given directly from Yaakov, then it will be his right and left side that are significant. However, if the blessing will be delivered through Yosef, then it's the right and left side of Yosef that is important. In terms of the above, we can appreciate that Yosef's understanding differed from that of Yaakov with regard to both of these questions. He felt that Manasseh should receive the right side. He thought the blessing would come directly from Yaakov. Accordingly, he positioned his son with Manasseh at Yaakov's right side and Ephraim at Yaakov's left. What is most fascinating is that through acting on these two premises together, he effectively positions his son exactly where they need to be in terms of Yaakov's plans. Placing Ephraim at Yaakov's left side meant that he was placed at Yosef's right side. Likewise, placing Manasseh at Yaakov's right side meant that he was at Yosef's left side. So now we understand why Yaakov crossed over his hands to give the right to Ephraim, didn't ask grandson to change places. For in reality, they were exactly where they needed to be. Wow. Gewaltig. 1 second, let me just reiterate this. If you take a look at the Psukim, and you mamish, the Psukim jump out at you. Go back into the Psukim, where it says in Pasuk Yud Gimel 13, Yosef took the two of them, Ephraim with his right hand to Israel's left, and Manasseh with his left to Israel's right. This is not a play that I need to have what? Stage directions. What is going on here with all these details? It's to his right, which is to his left, and his left to his right. What's going on here? Whoa. Every detail is relevant because the right of Yosef HaTzadik is exactly where Ephraim needs to be. On top of that, literally on top of that, you also need to put his hand, because again, the hand is the conduit of bracha. So really, Ephraim needs to be on the right of Yosef with his right hand, and that's the perfect coordination to give the brachas to each one of them, and therefore no switching of the hands is necessary at all. Yes?
What does it really mean that the bracha came through Yosef?
Good. So that's a question. What does it mean that the bracha came through Yosef? That's a question that's much larger than I'm going to touch on here. It means that it's Yosef's sitkus that's going to then transfer over into the children. They weren't yet on that level to receive it directly. Sometimes you need that conduit in between. That's a simple answer for a much, much larger question. So on the most simplest level, if you're not worthy, you need to have somebody who is worthy to then be the conduit, and that's the best.
You said he's the vessel.
The vessel, yeah, exactly, 100%. You're with me, yeah.
Just to go back, a comment and a question. The comment is that yesterday was it was boring.
Yesterday was
Said
boring.
There were hundreds of people that went to the Levaya of the terrorist attack of this young woman, Beit Sham, and they were shocked to see that there were so many people that came out.
People came out to this terrorist attack of this young lady in Beit Sham.
So my shaila to you is hashkafagli. If Yaakov knew that there's a problem, we know that Leah's Einayim, Rarakot, because she was read to Esau. And she davened and she davened and she davened, and God heard her prayers. So why didn't Yaakov daven and Yosef daven for their children?
Of course they
the
did.
future will be
Of course they
better?
did. Of course they did.
And
And you still have, yes, Yaakov and Yosef daven for his children, and at the same time you still have what? And that's the beginning and end of a much larger question.
But doing this is actually saying there is no way.
No, that's not true.
Change.
That's not true at all.
Not true?
That's not true. There's just, again, I go back to, there's a greater Kli Kibul in Ephraim than Menashe. There's a greater potential, and we're blessing potential. That's the best I would say. Yeah. Okay. So we had one, and again, the davening piece is an important piece, and I'm not mitigating that at all. It's a much larger topic. So we have Musar. Try not to embarrass a person if you can help it. That's an important lesson. 2, bring out positivity needs to breed with positivity. Right needs to meet right. Right? Right. 3, they had to be here because it's not just the right and left of Yaakov, it's also about the right and left of Yosef. There are 2 more answers, and then we'll end with a final idea. The next one I'm going to do outside, it's 36 and 37 of Rav Goldvich Zatzal, Asufos Marachos. And he says the following. It's a little bit of a deeper answer. I'm just going to share it briefly. When the Jewish people were in Egypt, they then entered into the Midbar. The Midbar was like a bubble. It was a bubble of total spirituality, total connection to Hashem, where they lived literally on lechem min hashamayim, bread from heaven, and the man, the be'er, the anei kavod. Rav Goldberg describes this experience as living on the right side, which means living in a total spiritual enclave of connection to God. Going into Eretz Yisrael, in comparison, which is so physical, where you're eating lechem min haaretz, bread from the ground, so it's a greater struggle to what? To be able to find God. It's a greater struggle for us in our day-to-day, in-out interactions, to be able to see the Ribono Shalom at every side. We live, even in Eretz Yisrael, very much left. Yeshua's job as being the transition from the Midbar to Eretz Yisrael was to be able to bring, who wants to finish my sentence? The spiritual into the physical, and in our terms, to bring the right to the left. So he's standing on the left of Yaakov Avinu because that's his position. He's going to be in Eretz Yisrael. He's going to be that leader of transition in the land. At the same time, he's going to need to infuse that right hand, that right koach, into that Eretz Yisrael experience. So he needed to be in the left, and at the same time needed the strength and the help of the right. Good. Final answer, and then we'll end with an idea. Rav Valesky Zatzal, 38, brings from the Emek Dover on the arrow. The positioning of Yaakov's feet was just as significant as that of his hands. If we're talking about tzaddikim, have total control of their evarim, of their limbs, so it's not just the hands of Yaakov Avinu that we're talking about here, we're also talking about feet. Yaakov's hands represents man's relationship to God, while his feet symbolize man's relationship to the world of corporeal reality. Yaakov deliberately placed Menashe next to his right foot because he wished to offset his diminished spiritual blessing with a great measure of wealth and prosperity. Ephraim received the spiritual mantle of leadership, but of the two, Menashe would achieve more in terms of worldly riches. Both blessings were fulfilled. The fact that Yeshua, the leader of Klal Yisrael after the death of Moshe Rabbeinu, was among the descendants of Ephraim, symbolized the spiritual superiority of that tribe. Tribe of Menashe's material superiority manifests itself in their larger population, and in fact, they were on two sides of the Yarden, two sides of the Jordan. Now, gewaltig. Yes, he's putting his right hand. I almost feel like that game Twister, Lahavdil. Do you know what I'm talking about? Right foot, left foot, green. It doesn't matter. He's putting his right foot on. I wonder how lefties do on that one. He's putting his. I guess it depends. Yeah, I know. I'm going to focus. He's putting his right hand. He's putting his right hand on Ephraim. That's a spiritual superiority. He's putting his right foot by Menashe, which is the physical aspects, being connected to this world. And he's really benching both of them at the same time, because again, a tzaddik's limbs create energy and direction. I will say that Sefer Parshat, Rav Rivlin, also Yeshiva Karen B'Yavne, develops this in the next sources, 39 through 41. And he says, when we say the bracha to our sons of Yisimcha Elokim ke'Ephraim u'ke'Menashe, we bench them with both Ephraim and Menashe. We bench them to have the spiritual bracha as well as the physical bracha. But what do we put first? We put first the spiritual. I just have to add here in parentheses, and then we'll end. I just read, I rarely read Mishpacha. Even though I write in it, that is correct. That's maybe why I don't read it. Yeah. I read the cover story this week about the financial pressure in America. It's really in the world, but particularly in America. And I'll tell you one thing that struck me. You know, Mirz Hashem, we're almost finished this book. I know I've been saying that for months, but we're really at the finish line. And this is why it struck me. I have a chapter on Vachnacht. Vachnacht is the night before a bris, where the father should be learning either all night or until Chatzot, and you have a small Suda, and it's really for protection for the kids. So in this article, this is what jumped out at me. People are spending, now you have to sit down for this one, ready? This is in dollars, not in shekels. $25,000 on a Vachnacht. Would that raise eyebrows for you? Now, it's like the bar mitzvah, where you spend more on the bar than the mitzvah. We're supposed to be protecting the child. We're not supposed to be having meat bars. You're supposed to be meeting God, not, God. It's a whole different dimension. What are you doing for $25,000? Now, you can imagine if the Vachnacht is $25,000, how much is the what? The bris. Then how much is the? And then how much is the? And then the next Vachnacht, the next generation has to be what? Yisimcha Elokim ke'Ephraim u'ke'Menashe. We can't lose the Ephraim over the Menashe. The final idea for today, my friends, and again, a grace v'yashakach for coming out, and that is 42 and 43. TORAH's Chesed, based on the Malbim, is the following. Look at the psukim back. Source number 1. Let's see what we find. But Israel extended his right hand. I'm in source 14. Israel extended his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, and his left hand on Menashe's head. So watch what happens. His right hand is on Ephraim's head, and then his left hand is on Menashe's head. which of the two hands is on top? The left hand. So even though he benched Ephraim with the right hand, the final hand was, the upper hand was on Manasseh, to tell Manasseh that even though you don't get the right hand, your bracha is not dependent on your what? Your younger brother. You have your own bracha, and to a certain extent, there is an aspect of superiority because I'm giving you literally the what? The upper hand. And this is the beauty of learning, that just from the psukim, if you look at it carefully, it's teaching you worlds of insight. For us, what we walk away with on this Asara B'Tevet, one word: sensitivity to other people.